So, hello everyone. Today we're going to start on a bit of a different pattern. This is something that just really arrived this week, is that I want to start looking more at our charts as a group. And intuitively this week, I felt to ask Danny and Phoebe. And what was amazing is that it turns out they're born within 6 days of each other. So that was like, wow. And we're going to be exploring Pandora. So Pandora has been an asteroid kind of on my radar for a long time because I haven't exactly conjunct my sun. So in some ways, if you want to know what a Pandora archetype is like, I'm a very strong one. And at the time I found out that I had Pandora conjunct my sun, I was working in a crisis house. I used to run a crisis house actually in a place called Birmingham in the UK. It was very innovative because it was led by people who had recovered from mental health problems themselves. And what I realized in this work in mental health is that I felt like Pandora's gift was that I could open people up. They could reveal things to me, often like incredibly traumatic, terrible things to me and other staff in this house that they seemingly had not been able to express in the normal mental health service. So it kind of felt like we had this energy that opened things up, but then was also safe enough so people could go through a transformation with what got out of Pandora's box, basically. So she's kind of popped up again, and I had sort of a series of synchronicities, which I like to wait for some synchronicities before I decide to do a class on an asteroid. They normally ask me, put it that way. We want to be heard now. and so within kind of days of sort of engaging with Pandora myself and through another group I'm in who study asteroids, she started to come through there, which often they do. Then a couple of things happened. I got a message from Channel 4 to say there was a new series called Pandora starting. And then a couple of days later, I noticed Kim Gold was writing about Pandora as well, who's human design analyst who I love to follow. She's really into the goddess asteroids as well. So we'll have a look at those through this presentation. And what we'll be doing today is also looking at Danny and Phoebe's charts, and there will be opportunity for any of you to have your chart as part of these. We may well actually do another one on Pandora and look at some more charts, because I feel she's absolutely key to this opening up of our gifts that have been kind of long hidden and repressed, and it really feels like the energy is like pushing us into the world with our gifts, and Pandora is an archetype who can help us understand how come it all got repressed and warped in the first place. But also she feels like she's got this very powerful energy, and actually she's connected to Circe as well. So the connection between Pandora and Circe is Prometheus, who gave fire back to humanity. And we'll come across that in the presentation again. So as a result of Prometheus giving fire to humanity, Zeus gets really angry and he asks Hephaestus to make this woman Pandora. So she's called the Gifted One, but she gets given this jar full of all the evil in the world, knowing full well that she will open it. So she's kind of set up Pandora, you know, and then Circe is really affected by seeing Prometheus whipped by the gods because he had given fire to humanity. And so we have this group of archetypes who really support humanity. And I feel that that is something to do with the Aquarian age that they're coming up now, because the Aquarian age is all about humanity, the humanistic vision, the human being and our creative powers. You know, in the Aquarian energies, we stop giving our power away to the authority out there, whether that's God or government, and we return to a sense of inner authority. And all these asteroids, I feel, celebrate our humanness. Okay, and that needs celebrating, doesn't it? Because most of the time we're so pissed off with ourselves and the things happening on the planet. Right, so let's go. Oh, where's it? Hang on, it's disappeared for the moment. Get it back again. Presentations. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I like this. This was a template that Canva threw up, but I like it because it's really, this is Pandora coming into her gifts. Let me share a little about me. And there's something about the energies of right now that are really pushing us. You know, we've talked about Sedna in Gene Key 8, for example, pushing us into this individuality, like really loving that we are an aspect of the creator. We are all a fragment of that light. So when we share our gifts and our achievements, we're actually celebrating the creator, and we can come from a really different place of like self-esteem rather than arrogance, I feel, in the sharing. And so this is the journey. So I like this. Let me share a little about me. And it's Pandora, the Gifted One. Okay, so this is the blog I read a few days after bumping into Pandora myself. I'll just read what her take on this is. Pandora is such an interesting story. It starts with Prometheus stealing fire from Zeus and giving back to the humans. Notice I said giving it back to the humans. That's because it was theirs. Zeus had taken it from them, and Prometheus wasn't having any of that. To get back at Prometheus and those pesky mortals, Zeus asked the blacksmith Hephaestus to create a woman. She had to be both beguiling and dangerous. She had to be an irresistible honey trap. Here's where it turns dark. Zeus also had Hephaestus create a jar filled with all kinds of evil and made Pandora curious enough to open it. In a clever sleight of hand, it is Pandora who is blamed for releasing evil into the world rather than Zeus. How is that even possible? What makes Zeus immune to blame? Is it his hypermasculinity, his rugged good looks, his wealth and influence? We'll probably never know. Pandora's in the gate of new beginnings this week, meeting with Pluto in the gate of limitations, in the channel of mutation. That's not the case anymore, actually. Pandora's moved on since this. But it's interesting that they were in this connection, Pluto and Pandora, at the time. Okay, so Pandora means all gifted. Pan means all, Dora gifted. Before the ancient Greeks turned her into a curse, she was the goddess of the earth's gifts to us. In your human design, she represents a place where you are naturally gifted, but have learned to see your gifts as a curse and keep the lid on them. So this is what I really want to focus on today, like a place. We'll look at Danny and Phoebe's charts first, where you're naturally gifted, but have learned to see your gifts as a curse and keep a lid on them. I think that's really insightful from Kim Gould. Okay, so this is this program that popped up. I'm not sure if you can get it in America. It's in this series called Walter Presents. They're European in European languages. But oh my goodness, it totally sums up this energy. The guy in this picture here is a politician who just gets away with murder, basically. And Pandora is a judge. And so it's a really, really well done, but especially I feel archetypally, it's almost like they could have read Kim Gould's version then created these characters around Zeus getting away with this and blaming Pandora gets blamed for opening the jar, but it's like, well, who gave her the jar in the first place? So another thing that's come really strongly this week is Pandora actually being in a box, like the gift is stuck in a box, and it got in the box because something in the outer world that connected with us made us afraid of that gift in some way, and we shut it down. And there's also this feeling like a box or a prison is controlling me. And I notice my own reactions to my inner Pandora can react by collapsing or being rebellious or being secretive. So as we step into our Pandora power, we reclaim our Godhead, our creativity, our power to make a choice to use our gifts, whether others honor or make sense of them or not. We become fully human. So I also came across this, I follow this little thing on Instagram that pops up these words every day and their meaning. And this is the word that popped up the day I was working on this presentation. And I thought, how perfect, because this is actually what I feel Pandora is really wanting space for the gifts. And I just really feel that in every bone of my body. And this came from someone saying it to me. And I suddenly felt like, yeah, I really feel like this need for the space for my gifts. So it's a Japanese concept of spaciousness called yutori. It refers to having enough time and peace of mind to enjoy life without being constantly under pressure. But I think this broader thing, like just to think about what space do you give for your gifts to grow in the world? And if you don't give them any space or growth time, then they're not likely to grow. But when you do give them space consciously, I think probably we'll just experience miracles through that. So the other thing with Pandora is curiosity. And we have this saying, don't we? Curiosity killed the cat. So we kind of brought up with this bit of a fear that if we are curious, it could get us into trouble, and it may well have done. I know it's got me into trouble. But curiosity is part of being human, this openness, I'm enjoying playing with this AI art at the moment. So I asked for a girl looking at the stars, and this is what it's popped up for me, which I rather like. And she's just curious, like what is out there? And this curiosity prompts us to learn and be open and explore. So what if we feel it's a curse? Or what if society considers it's a curse? That's a really kind of constricting energy. It's interesting we're in the Gene Key 25 at the moment, because I kind of really feel the constriction of the box and then the opening up into universal love with that gene key. Okay, so I'm going to say a little bit about Phoebe's chart, and then we'll invite her to say what she feels about it. Yeah, so what was amazing, first of all, is that Phoebe and Danny have both been long-time Soul Tribe participants. And what we never knew is how closely they were born to each other. And Phoebe lives here in England, where I live, and Danny lives in Ojai and, well, near to. In California. So they're born across the world, and yet they have like incredible similarities. So in Phoebe's chart, so just sort of take in a bit of the chart, because what you will notice is how many similarities there are with, say, like where Chiron is, these outer planets, Jupiter, Neptune, Uranus. None of them have moved that much in these 6 days between when they're born. So what we have here is, I've done Pandora as a little vessel, actually. So in Phoebe's chart, this is in her third house, which has to do with communication. And it's in the sign of Leo, which is this beautiful, creative, generous, open energy. And you can see Phoebe's got a lot of Leo. Her sun, Mercury, and moon are all in Leo. So she's born on a new moon, just after a new moon there. And so here we have her. She also has Venus in Leo. And this is the goddess Astraea, who is, for me, is very creative. And she's about this new subtlety of the body and the senses that is coming online over a number of years, that we're becoming more and more sensitized. So one thing that's interesting is that Phoebe and Danny are both kinesiologists, and they both have this incredible like sensitivity to the body and the energies that are unfolding. And you will see also that Danny also has Pandora between Astraea and Venus. And if I looked at their charts, even without Pandora, I would say like this is a kind of real psychic sensitivity that both these women have. Okay, so for Phoebe, she has Pandora at 9 degrees Leo, 30 minutes. And this is Gene Key 33, line 3. Now, as soon as I see that 33, line 3, I'm getting excited, because it just feels like that 3 transformational energy is so present there. The 33 is like one of these gene keys that's about the coding of the universe. And it feels like this energy of Christ consciousness rising up through the heart. That's what I really feel. I'm a kind of feeling astrologer. I kind of use my head, what my knowledge is, but when I feel into that, I feel this like big lion, heart-opening energy. Yes, so this gene key is about the shadow of forgetting, the gift of mindfulness, and the city of revelation. And it's called the final revelation. So I do know a bit about Phoebe, because we've been friends for a long time. And one thing I thought about, which she's given me permission to share about, and she can comment herself on this, is that probably in the second trimester of when she was in her mother's womb, her mother was in prison. And so immediately we have this kind of energy, this like constriction. I'm going to come out of the chart for a minute so I can see everyone. You know, because when we're in the womb, we're very sensitive to how our mother is feeling and how she's coping and whether she feels supported. So we don't know the exact details of this experience for her mother, but we could imagine it would be pretty challenging, and to find that you're pregnant as well in that situation. And so there's like an internalized sense of that constriction that you might get in prison. I'm going to use that word, but I'll let Phoebe maybe talk about how she feels that experience, and anything else about Pandora. I know your father was very key in this because he didn't take responsibility for something. It's your mom who paid the price. So there feels like there's that energy of the masculine not taking responsibility that is also an echo of, for me, that Pandora story. So I'm going to invite you in if you're okay with that, Phoebe.
Yeah, I'm good with that, but I'd like to stay off camera
Okay.
just while I'm going through some personal moments. Okay, thanks. Thanks for this amazing introduction. There's a lot of points, so I'm just gonna like breathe for a minute and just come into this. But it's interesting, the masculine not taking responsibility. My mother and I were sisters in past lives, so she delivered me, and I saw her out, is one way we could say. I helped her transition. I with a friend called Simone, you know, at 3 or 4 hours after her death, we were able to help her go through to the light, and it was an amazing experience. So my mum talked about Amazonian women, and interestingly enough, it's her core wound day today. She had the 25 line one as her core wound, which is known as psychic awareness in the Rei I Ching. And she actually pretended to be clairvoyant. She's probably right on a lot of things when she was in prison to help her get through and detach and have some clout, I suppose. That's what helped her survive in her Taurian ways. So the Pandora for me, in the 33, line 3, the final revelation is really interesting. And it's interesting also, Alison, that a week ago you talked about me being in retreat, and that is really what the 33 is all about. And here we are talking about, you know, how much space we give ourselves to bring in the gifts. And I actually give myself a lot of space because my mum left the plane over 18 months ago, and that's what I've given myself. So the final revelation for me talks to initiation and the old traditions that have gone before us. I've been looking at it really closely. It's right in the front of my mind when we think about all the different traditions. And so the final, and what I'm saying about this is, like, you know, I've already mentioned the Amazonian women. There are a lot of traditions, and of course the Holy Grail is probably the most recent and most famous one, which we can look at through the vessel of love in human design, and we're also looking at that right now. So there's a lot of cross-pollinations going on, and I'm going to say that this 33 line 3 around the coding of the universe, and me being able to have those transformational codes in terms of final revelation, is speaking to being an initiate and bringing those traditions together, because that's what we're doing. you know, there's been all these different traditions all around the world for for antiquity, and in this time we're bringing them all together. So it feels like that now. Pandora's box and the light that Leo shines is an interesting one, because you could look at light bearing like archetypes, and I've got so much light that I lean into ecstatic. I'm a party person, so it's very easy for people with a lot of light to lean into that. And what seems to be happening for me is that I'm coming onto that middle path and coming into an initiation. And this is what this is talking to me about, because I had a little fear the other day, a pang of fear. And it was around the idea of, okay, so if you have an inflated ego and you're initiated into these traditions, it's really dangerous. Okay, now I'm not saying I've got an inflated ego, but sometimes I do fall into it. But what is going on here? There's something in me that's like kind of scared of going into this initiation process. Now I am committed to my spiritual process, but and I've got the 29 line 1, 29 3 times there with the moon and Mercury. But I can feel that there's this Pandora energy, and there's a fear attached to me going further. And that is where my creativity is. As you know, yeah, what else am I going to do while I'm here? Like, there's a destiny there for me, but there is a fear also of it. And it's interesting that Astrea's there, because what's happening for me in my body, I've been having a lot of things on the physical plane. Okay, we're not talking about getting ill and stuff, because that's purge most of the time. But aches and pains in the body, I've never really suffered those kind of ascension symptoms, but I've been getting them in my arms and stuff. And I think that's connected to the heart, because when you look at the traditions of initiation, usually we're either will base, heart, or kind of more in the crown chakra. And I think I'm in the heart. I feel like I'm in the heart, which is why my arms, I mean, they just completely like stopped working on me a few weeks ago when Saturn was conjunct the Sun and Mercury. Like if I moved them, it was like, you know, when you've got acupuncture needles in you and you can't, in that pain that you get. Yeah, I've never thought of that. Yeah, it was like that. So I was undergoing some kind of transformation, I think. And so maybe the heart meridian was being strengthened. There you go. That's why it's good to talk about these things. Yeah, so there you go. I think I've gone into it enough, actually, and I've really found some insights myself. So I appreciate this space and time you've given me. Thank you.
Yeah, I think as well, I just want to say, like, with so much Leo energy, it's like being larger than life. So there probably is this fear of the ego kind of taking over, because Leo is one of the signs, like Aries, the ego is very present in the zodiacal energy. And yet, if you don't kind of celebrate yourself and your achievements, then the energy is kind of locked down. So I could perceive this, like, yeah, coming out with all this huge creative energy, and see it in you, and you're on the journey for sure. And yeah, I think there's just loads more to come. I feel into that. It's like, whoa, where's that going? So yeah. I think there's something as well, like this is a real difference, I think, between American and British culture, that more in America, that kind of achievement is celebrated. And there's this kind of strange culture in Britain where people are pulled down who try and celebrate themselves. They're kind of like, well, who do you think you are? You know? There's this someone described it once as crabs trying to get out of a bucket, and the other ones pull them back down again. So I don't know, you can comment, the people in America, and perhaps you have a version of this sort of thing as well. But it's quite hard in a way to celebrate your achievements without being seen as arrogant or that kind of thing. So yeah, it's like finding that path. Okay, so I'm going to share again. Let's go back into this. So this is Danny's chart. So a lot of the major planets here are in the same place. We've got Chiron, 24 Aries. We've got Venus, Uranus conjunction. Pluto's in the same place. We've got Sun and Mercury also in Leo and Estrella there. So Danny's born 6 days before Phoebe. You can see that her Venus is in Cancer there. So it's a different sign of Cancer is water and Leo is fire. So there's immediately an elemental difference there. This Cancerian energy in Venus is very kind of family orientated. It's got a real beautiful mothering quality to it. So we've got a different elemental energy coming in with the Cancerian with Danny, but we can see that still Pandora is slap bang in the middle of Estrella and Venus. Now, Danny's got a lot going on in the 12th house, which I kind of think of as the spiritual house. So if I was doing this even without looking for Pandora, I would say what your gift is, Danny, and I know you're living this, is what you do with the body talk. It's this incredible kind of psychic energy. So to me, it's very interesting that you and Phoebe are kinesiologists, and you do this very similar thing where you tune in through your intuition into what the body needs, what the psyche needs in any particular moment, and able to guide other people through that process. So I know that that is a gift that's coming out in you, but perhaps it was a struggle to kind of come into that gift, and it feels like there's always more that can arise. So yeah, interesting. I hadn't thought of this. So your Pandora is at 7 degrees Leo, just 2 degrees away from Phoebe's, but it's a different gene key. So this is what's interesting with the gene keys. You can get a bit more actually of a fix on a particular energy, even though they're in the same sign. The gene keys give another layer of the subtle difference between the two. So here the emphasis for you, Danny, is on leadership. And I kind of feel since you started doing the 40-day meditations on Soul Tribe, it's like I suddenly saw you step into your leadership energy in this really powerful way. And I think it's something that's growing in you, the leadership. And humility is the Siddhic frequency, and arrogance, which we were just talking about in the British culture, like if you celebrate yourself, you're seen as arrogant, and it can be arrogant, that energy, but you know, it's so what we're looking for really is the humility rather than the arrogance in the leadership qualities. And this one is called sounding your truth. So perhaps another gift that is repressed is this expression of the self, the sounding of your truth might feel pretty scary. And in the 12th house, you might not know what it is much of the time. It's like, what is my truth? I can't see it. It's there in this like spiritual house. Some astrologers call it the room under the stairs, that kind of thing. That's very sort of hidden energy that you get with the 12th house. Okay, so I'm going to invite Danny in to share. I know you're in your car, Danny. Is it a reasonable moment to talk?
Yes, I can. Thank you so much, Allison, and Phoebe. Thank you so much for speaking as well. It's, just listening to you and hearing about my charts really helped to bring a lot of just understanding to how it is I operate. And when it comes to my leadership gifts, yeah, definitely. I feel like there's that arrogance and humility that kind of combat each other. And it's me not really wanting to step on the stage and really just back down from that spotlight on me, and having intuition and feeling my connection of what it is that I'm getting, but then also really opening it up into, it could be so many things, and there's so many ways that the universe works, and this is just one thing. So I feel like a lot of times when I get information, um, the humility will make it so that I don't really want to step up and speak. So it's been a bit of a challenge with that. And also, uh, it just feels like, I'm sorry, it's just a lot to process right now. Um, what's interesting uh, has been my spiritual connection with um, the infinite and this God energy. And it's really been my savior through into my intuition and what's coming forward, and that celebration of that. Um, because that whole connection, and that this is still something that's unfolding for me, with bringing in guides and teachers. And what's unfolding is, the more I connect with that, the more I just allow that energy to move through me. And for a while, I felt like I was going to stop. When I actually have my hands on people, for a while, I thought I was going to stop um, working with people and stop all my body work and putting my hands on people. I felt like Elsa, like when I touched them, stuff would come out. And I almost felt like I was Pandora in the sense of when I would touch people, all of their shadow would come out. And I would hear and see things or feel self-hatred or all of it. And, if I feel that the person, that vibration is coming forward, and it was getting really challenging. Um, and it really brought me closer into relationship with God to help hold space and to really be neutral, and and to really feel that energy rising up, but it's just them passing that energy through. And it's definitely been a journey into me coming back and knowing this is what I'm meant to do. Um, and just working with that Pandora energy. And there's always the light comes in. There's never, it's never stuck. It's always coming up so that it can move. And what was Estrella? But between the Estrella and the Venus significance, Allison.
Well, Australia brings in this incredible sort of psychic sensitivity, like awareness
Okay.
of the subtle levels, which is why
Yeah.
I associate it with that kind of ability to channel or perceive things beyond what most people could perceive.
Yeah, and it's been definitely something that's always been with me. And but yeah, a lot of times I'm just, a lot of people get on the stage and like, this is it. And people have like this conviction. But with me, it's just, like, well, this is what's coming forward. And feel into how it connects with what's going on. But I feel like also when we're connecting in with things, there's different planes of when we land on something. Just like when I'm doing my craniosacral therapy, I might get a picture of something, but something might shift and be a little bit different for somebody else, or for the person that I'm working with. And it's it's really just me opening up to, um, everything's coming up because everything is wanting to be expressed in some way, and somehow the information is coming in like this, and it's really opening into this trust. And what's interesting with the Pandora and having this box, I feel like I was kind of placed in a box as a child, and to not use my voice with a lot of restriction. And what's funny is that one of my favorite stories was Pandora. It was one of the stories my grandmother told me when I was a little girl. And I would always imagine all of the demons, and I was a bit macabre when I was a kid, so I would have loved seeing all of them, but they're scary too. And then seeing the hope at the end, um, just always made my heart sing and lift. And and it's interesting because I chose a partner actually that doesn't really believe in what I do. And it took me a long time to really connect with, that's not healthy. It's not, it's not healing. And to break this mold and pattern and of surrounding myself with people that aren't really my tribe, and opening up my field and tribe to people that um, are open-minded and think differently. And so that's really been a big journey for me. And I feel like it's only in the past couple of years that I've really opened up to new realization. And maybe it's Pluto going into Aquarius, um, or this year. But it feels like a lot's been shifting, with all of that leadership, and really just allowing myself to own my space and be really comfortable with what's coming in, and just embracing it all. And with things that aren't working, just embracing everything with this acceptance and moving forward from here and putting a smile on my face. Um, Lastly, one last thing, it's interesting, this mothering energy, because I'm a den leader for my Cub Scouts, so I'm always like nonstop, like doing stuff. And what's interesting is, I used to get body work, probably every week, like religiously swapping with people. And just with this having to work more, stuff like that, I haven't really been able to take care of myself and have that spaciousness lately. And I tweaked my leg and hurt myself. So it's just letting me know I really need to connect in with taking care of myself and making that a priority, and having that, treating myself like a gift, and not always that push, because I can easily keep going into that push. So thank you so much, Allison. I know it's a lot there, but thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, that's really lovely, both your shares. And I think that, yeah, it's just wonderful to hear stories, because this helps us get some more insight into what Pandora's all about. So there are some other bits I want to share, but I'll share them right at the end. I wanted to see, Pat, if you wanted to say anything. This is going on the YouTube, but I can stop the recording if you want me to as well.
No, I'm okay, because I would have a lot to share, but I'll share a little bit. Yesterday was my design moon day. 36.5 is my unconscious design moon. And I so was living it. It was just so amazing because I found the 36 is in my family genes. My sister holds it as life work, and we were all together because they're visiting this weekend. And it was just the compassion. The compassion I feel so much in my physical and root chakra with my family. And it's so supporting, and it always makes me more empowered when they're here. It really gets that root chakra nurtured. And my Pandora is in 40.6, and it's conjunct my Vista, which is the internal flame. And we were doing the whole Vista series together in another group. And it's in also conjunct Psyche and Gaia, which is taking Gaia, my psyche, my internal flame within the 40 gene key, and it's the first sacred seal of Archangel Michael. I had a miracle yesterday happen. I had a miracle. And when I went to the sound bath on the beach, like there were a few friends there that I see now and then, they were like so feeling like they wanted to be near me. They wanted to be hugged by me. One said, "Oh my God, you give the greatest hugs." Well, I knew they were feeling my light and needed that. And again, I am very open and speak, and and it's not ego, but yet, I sometimes feel people take it that way, and it can shut me down because I am an emotional manifester, and I have to express with that 40. I have the 4937 channel in human design. It's the community. It's the tribal community. That's administration, and that's what I am. But I feel at times I get restricted in groups. Here in my community, I mean, yesterday was so miraculous that there's one girl I have a little challenge with, but I had a kingfisher come over my house. The minute she asked me to meet her for coffee on Sunday, I'm like, oh boy, she triggers me. I thought, no, this kingfisher's my culture, 21.3. She holds the 21. I have to meet her. I have to trust and bring it into the highest level. And I did. But while we were at the coffee shop, I was counseling and helping her, through things, because she has always wanted my help for years. And I've opened her and helped her with healing and things. Anyway, some woman overheard me talking about St. Michael, who is the first seal of the 40th gene key, and she had to come over to the table and said, "I need to introduce myself." And she just moved into the area. It's not even 24 hours. And I felt like we had a Vista circle of 3 women together. We prayed, we held hands, and we all shared our St. Michael experiences. I have chills all over my body. And I just was like, wow, why I need to get this feeling online. Maybe it's just because of the physical has to get in there with me. And I work the physical through here and in other groups, but there's something that happens to me. There's something that happens to me. And I believe also the opposition of this Pandora is Amor, Ceres, and Hygeia, all in a Pisces stellium in opposition. So, and that's passion, and that's nurturing, and that's healing. But something happens, like I'm an initiator, and that initiator is hard for me because I feel like I initiate and I'm like, where did I go? Where am I? Where do I go? Where am I here? I have to find my place. And sometimes I don't feel my place on the computer. Because, it's my right hand crossy rulership, and I am a leader, and I have this rulership cross. It's in it. My heart's in it. My throat's in it. My whole thing is in it. And I don't know what it is, but I have to be careful because it sets me back. So I have to figure out myself why. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to be just the initiator. I want to be able to give all of myself in what I have, and feel that. So I'm still kind of working with that, but I do totally know that the Soul Tribe experience of these past 37 days, tenderness, my North Node, unconscious, has opened my self to miracles with my 35 gene key of miracles and wormholes. And it's happening here. It was so big yesterday. So anyway, that's all I'll share. I have a lot of asteroids, that are like this with this. It's a lot. So that's what I need to work on. I don't understand, because then I feel like, the other thing I wanted to say, that the fifth line is incorporated in there with this. And something happens when I feel like I give my throat, I give my heart, I give my healing, I give my nurturing, I give my whole being. And then I'm like, whoa, what happens to me? I, that's where I'm stuck here. I don't know. But anyway, that's my share. Time for someone else, because I have to work about feeling I take too much time and those things and all that. I'm trying to examine feelings here towards me and understand them. Like, am I being understood? Do I understand? Yeah, that's it. Love you.
Well, one thing I can definitely say is that you're loved in a huge way. And yeah, I feel you're still growing in that leadership role, and it's there in you. It's so obvious. I think you express it more in your day-to-day community than in the online community. But yeah, it's definitely there, and you ping up every once in a while, ping, and you have all this incredible knowledge of a whole lifetime of so much, So yeah. Okay, well, we've got about 6 minutes left. I'm just going to see if Alicia or Tara, would you like to share anything? And then I'll play this video out of the asteroid Bennu at the end. Just checking in if you'd like to offer anything.
I'm good. Just sending love and enjoying the company.
Same.
Okay, let me unmute myself here. So, what was interesting, I actually also have loads of asteroids with Pandora, and so do Phoebe and Danny, like an extraordinary amount. So I chose not to talk about them all because there's too many, really, it just confuse everyone. But maybe nice to break them down more in a further class. But one that kind of drew me is the Bennu bird, an asteroid named after the Bennu bird. And it's a near-Earth object, and the NASA sent a spaceship out, and they did what's called like a smash and grab of some of this asteroid. And I watched this video, and it's like the language of it is so Pandora. It's just like, oh my God, if you watch this, I just got a whole other layer of Pandora and her dangerousness and her preciousness. So I'm going to share this. This was on the BBC, actually, this video, and should just play us out with it. Right. Hang on, I'm just going to find it. Okay, we'll close that. We've got Bennu over here. I'm getting very good at the screen sharing stuff. Yeah, advanced. Okay, hopefully it's going to play okay. Let's try it.
Has arrived in the UK for study. The fragments were scooped up by NASA from the asteroid Bennu in 2020 and delivered in a capsule to the Utah desert 2 months ago. Our science editor, Rebecca Morell, has more. A piece of asteroid from deep space has finally arrived at London's Natural History Museum.
We've separated out these little bigger fragments in our stones of interest.
Scientists here have been waiting years for the chance of a close-up look and to get their gloved hands on this precious extraterrestrial material.
I think it's beyond our wildest dreams. It's an incredibly beautiful rock. It's very, very black, but with some tiny little white bits in as well. And we found that each little grain looks a bit different to the other grains, so it's going to keep us busy for years trying to figure it all out.
The sample comes from this, a 500-meter wide space rock called Bennu. It was collected by a NASA spacecraft in a smash and grab maneuver and packed into a capsule to bring it back home.
Touchdown. I repeat, video. SRC has touchdown.
After landing in the Utah desert, it was quickly secured. Now the dust inside is being distributed to scientists around the world.
It's incredible to see this material up close, grabbed from an asteroid hundreds of millions of miles away. Now, there isn't much in here, just a few milligrams, but for scientists, this is a treasure trove. Every single tiny grain will be analysed, and the hope is they could answer some of the biggest questions we have about our solar system.
Within this polished section, we have a tiny little particle of Bennu, but when we look under this microscope, we can start to see all the information that it can tell us about the history of Bennu.
The ultra close-up view of this single speck provides a map of the minerals and elements within the rock. And this is vital because Bennu is a relic from the early solar system, and scientists are finding it's rich in carbon and water.
We know that we have water here on the Earth. How did it get here? And so we think things like Bennu could have potentially brought that water. And so we're going to study the water in Bennu, see if it's similar to the water we have on the Earth. And if we find similarities, that gives us a really good idea that asteroids like Bennu were helping to deliver at least some of the water to the Earth when it was just starting out 4.5 billion years ago.
The UK has so far been sent about a teaspoon of material, but there might be more to come, because some of the space rock is still stuck in the sample container at NASA HQ. 2 of its 35 screws are proving tricky to undo, so new tools are being developed to retrieve every last bit of Bennu. The material that's here is being shared with some universities around the UK, so expect a slew of discoveries and some out-of-this-world surprises along the way. Rebecca Morell, BBC News.
Now a tiny sample of rock and dust taken.
So that was 2020. And just that whole language of the smash and grab, it's in a capsule, it goes to Utah desert, then it comes to England. So there's this cross kind of pollination, and it's dangerous, but it's so beautiful, and it's got so much information, and it's got water. Wow, that's like really amazing. So I'm just going to leave you with that imagery of the Bennu bird asteroid alongside Pandora, and it feels like that is some kind of coding of something amazing. So yeah, so I'm going to go and pop over to Danny's class now, so see you all tomorrow for meditation, or Danny's class too. So thank you everyone. Bye.
Thank you.